And joining us at PNP Network is legendary drummer. His name, Carmine Aappice. You know him and love him from Vanilla Fudge. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Keep your hand. Dun 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 boom boom boom. One of the best drum solos ever.
Oh,
And
well, thank you. And,
it's
yeah,
legend in rock.
and I've changed my name since then too. It's now Carmine Aappice.
That's what it was before too. But I screwed it up last time we interviewed you too.
Yeah, my
You
brother came out with Sabbath in 1980, and he sort of screwed it up even more because when I was joining Rod Stewart, we did a thing of Rod said, we got to get one way to say your name, Aappice or Aappice. So we took Aappice and went with that.
I prefer Aappice, but I'll go with Aappice though.
Yeah, well, it's easier. Most people around the world call me Aappice. So and they call Vinny Aappice, and it's sort of pretty funny actually.
You have had an incredible career in rock and roll with Vanilla Fudge and Cactus and Jeff Beck and on and on and on. Uh,
Right.
and now you have something kind of new. This is a cool CD that I've been listening to. We're talking about real good rock and roll here.
Right.
Carmine Aappice's Guitar Zeus,
Right.
Conquering Heroes. It's really, you got some amazing people on there. How'd you put this thing together?
Well, I actually did it in the late '90s when record budgets were still available. So I got the money out of Japan to do it, and I just had friends of mine. Like I knew I was going to do it, so when I ran into like Brian May, I asked him if he'd play on a track, and Ted Nugent, and they both said yeah. And then I said, well, if I got those two guys, I need to get another couple that would draw other musicians into it. So I got the guys from King's X, who I know all musicians pretty much love, the guys from King's X.
Yeah.
And so I put Ted on first. I went to get Ted in Michigan at the time, and then I went to Houston and got the guys from King's X, and then I sent the tape to Brian. So when I approached other people, I said, well, who you got on? I said, Brian May, Ted Nugent, Ty Tabor, and Doug Pinnick from King's X. They all go, oh, that's a great lineup, Bob. I'm sure I'd love to do it. And then I got like Neil Sean, and Neil was another feather. So every time I got somebody new in, it sort of built the pot up,
Mm-hmm.
and made it easier for other guys to get in.
Yeah, you had, talking about legends here from Ted Nugent to Slash to Leslie West, people who are known as some of the best guitarists around.
Yeah, and I was trying to get Jeff Beck on it. It was hard to get him because at the time I did this, he had done too many guest shots, and Epic wouldn't let him do any more session work, at the time.
Yeah.
So, but I would have liked to get Jeff on it, and I think I tried for Clapton, but the schedules didn't work out. But I figured I had enough big names on it to warrant it to be what it is.
Well, you certainly have enough big names on it, and not only big names, but some interesting ones as well. Here's one that jumped at me. The last track of the disc 2, which has on it Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal, I know.
What was that about?
Well, that one came about when I got Richie Sambora on it. Richie was doing a thing in Malibu in California. It was a charity event, and he asked me if I'd play on it with him, and I did. And on it also was Steven Seagal, and Richie and Steven Seagal were friends, and he introduced me to Steven Seagal, and then Richie mentioned it to Steven and said maybe Steven would want to play on it. So I asked him. He said, sure, I'd love to play on it. So I know he liked to play blues, so what I did was put him on the track that had Seymour Duncan on it already, and it was a blues, So
What did you
I put
think about
those
his
two
ability to
guys
play?
together on it, and it was pretty cool. And I mean, the track wasn't done yet, but I know I was going in to do a blues with Seymour Duncan, so we left room for Steven Seagal to play some solos on the blues that we were doing with Seymour Duncan. And Seymour Duncan's the guy that makes all the guitar pickups for all the heavy guys like Page and Clapton and Jeff Beck and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. And then he pulled up in the white limo and came out with his entourage and is wearing an Indian, like an Indian Middle Eastern looking suit. Steven Seagal, he's a wild guy. And then from then on, I've been in touch with him, and seen him in different places, and you know, I even got what I didn't mention on there on one track. I forgot to mention it. Is John McEnroe plays some rhythm guitar.
Which track is that?
That's Stash.
Really, the first track on the second disc?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. He plays he plays some rhythm guitar in there where it goes like ba ba bam 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 ba ba and bam down 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 bam. You know, there's a couple of little fills in between a couple of the chorus lines. That's John McEnroe.
Wow. So how was it to get this thing together now? I mean, it's coming out in 2009. And
Well,
you said
what
you recorded
happened
it a while
is
ago.
I released it in Europe and Japan, and it did real well there, the first one. Then I did the second one, was released in about 98. Never released in Europe. It was only released in Japan. And then the only way you get copies of this, I printed up 1,000 copies of a double CD compilation that I used to sell at different,
At shows and stuff?
shows and clinics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2005, 2006, I did a deal with a company called Escapee Music to release a compilation CD of these two together in America. And just as it was coming out, the label went out of business. You know, it was another one of those indie go out of business stories. So it never really got a shot here, you know.
Yeah.
And it was released in Europe also, and the same kind of thing happened. So, you know, that was a drag because I never really got it out in America, you know.
Yeah.
And then I did a catalog deal with Fuel 2000, and because I had a lot of records like that. I had like a Travis and Aappice album, a live DVD, and an album that was never released in America. I had we're doing a new thing with Cactus 5. You know, the Cactus group. We did an album called 5 on that same label that released Guitar Zeus that went out of business. They went out of business on Cactus also.
Mm-hmm.
So we're packaging that together, remixing it, packaging it together with a DVD of Cactus on the East Coast and the West Coast. And that's going to come out as Cactus Music. We've got another album coming out with me, Derringer, and Bogart called DBA, The Sky is Falling. That was an album that was released in Europe that did well, never was released here also. So all total is about 13 albums that I gave to Fuel. And, you know, and I told him this was never released here. And he said, wow. You know, Len was like flipping out. So he said, let's get it released and let's really give it a good push and see if we can sell some records, you know.
Mm.
So I said, okay. So we're doing that. Like next week I'm doing a in-store in Pasadena at the Best Buy at 2 o'clock where I'm going to play the 3 tracks, sign autographs, and do like an in-store. And I'm doing the same thing in New York on November 19th at J&R Music. And, you know, doing a lot of interviews like this. And I'm going on the Eddie Trunk Show tonight in New York. I'm doing his Sirius Radio show on Monday. You know, just got lots of interviews, just constantly being lined up and press releases going out, and you know, so we're trying to get this buzz going, and it's hard with radio the way it is, you know.
Yeah, it's very difficult. In fact, I was going to talk to you a little bit about that because when you were first starting, you were with Vanilla Fudge. You know, you had hit records and you backing, you know, Rod Stewart on, and you even co-wrote songs like "Do You Think I'm Sexy" and "Young Turks" and things like that. So you had some amazing success. But the business has completely changed now in terms of the record labels, in terms of airplay, and the involvement of the internet. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, normally, I mean, if this record would have come out, you know, 10, 15 years ago, you know, you get a regular, you know, there's a lot of radio stations that would have played it, you know. But today, you got is classic rock stations or new music station, and there are really not a lot of them. There's not a lot of places to get airplay now, you know.
No, and in fact, the difference that I can see, and maybe you'd agree on, is the consolidation of this. Used to be tons and tons of owners of stations. Now there's a few, and they pick and choose what they're going to play on all their stations.
Yeah, and it's all, you know, run by like one big company, you know.
Yeah.
And it's really not good, you know. And same thing with the now the record stores. There are no record stores, you know.
No.
I mean, the only way you can, you know, you got Best Buy, you got Borders Books, you know, sell some records. And you got, Walmart and Target. Walmart and Target aren't going to take, a record that's new. Looking like this is almost a new artist.
Mm.
And they only take the AC/DCs and the Bruce Springsteens and the Kiss and all that stuff.
Right.
So there's really nowhere to get new records on sale except on internet. And to me, it's just not as cool to just go online and look at, go to iTunes, and what do you see? You see a front cover, and that's it. Now, I used to like to go in and, I just came back from Germany. I was in London Airport. I went into a store called HMV. That's still a heavy, chain of stores,
Mm-hmm.
which we don't have over here anymore. It's just a record and DVD shop.
Right.
And you can go in, and I was looking at the Michael Jackson "This Is It" CD cover, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, wow, this is a nice cover, nice artwork, and looking through the pages, and it's like it's a demo,
Right.
People could actually look through it, and
Yeah.
you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, we have up in this area. We have something called Newbury Comics.
What's that?
It's a record store chain, very small.
Oh, and they're still in existence.
And they're still in
right?
existence, and you
Good
can
for
go in
you.
there and you can look through records and CDs, and they buy
I
and
live
sell
in New
used ones.
York and L.A., and neither one of them have any record chains anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's New York. Come on, New York City.
Yeah.
Virgin Megastore is closed down. Tower Records closed down.
Yep.
Even you have FYE, and those are okay. But I heard they're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are buying their music on the internet, and some people are still illegally downloading it. So.
Yeah, and it's the funny bit about it all is, it started out with records, and you had the big 12-inch LPs. Analog records sounded great. Then it went to CDs, and we all used to complain that the artwork and everything's so small now, you can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to, to put the information on it had to be so little. And then now you're to MP3s, which, they don't sound as good as CDs. CDs don't sound as good as the records did. So what are you getting now you're getting really not as good fidelity. You're back to like mono, hi-fi. Hi-fi is almost gone.
It's interesting. I agree with you. And I remember when they were transforming from records to CDs, I held on as long as I possibly could. I bought a CD
Me
player
too.
way after everybody else did because I love my records. I still have a huge record collection.
See, I'm that way when it comes to recording. Like we're going to record a new Cactus 40th next year. It's Cactus 40th anniversary with guest people on it and stuff. We're working on a record deal now, but I record analog drums. All that Guitar Zeus, all these records are going to be coming out on Fuel. We're all recorded pretty much analog.
Yeah.
And and I'm talking to different producers and. Oh man, well you got to do it. They have all these analog plugins to Pro Tools. I said it's not the same. Sorry, dude, it's really not the same.
Yeah.
So, I like to record analog, even though it ends up like that.
Yeah.
I like to record.
Now,
That
for
way.
folks out there who are big Cactus fans,
Well,
tell
Cactus
us about Tim Bogert and Jim McCarty and Rusty Day. Are they all still around?
No, Rusty Day's dead.
I did not know
He
that.
got killed in a drug deal.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. He was a
Yep.
great vocalist.
Yep. He got killed in a drug deal in 1984. And the sad thing about it, not only him, but his son was 12 years old, was there. He got killed too, and his son's friend, they were both visiting from Detroit, and they both got killed.
Oh, my God.
It was terrible. And then, so now on all the product that we did with Rhino and any of the old product, that has songs on there, we've given Rusty's ex-wife and the mother of the child, we've given her the royalties,
Yeah.
So you can't make up for the loss of the son and Rusty, but at least we can do is pay her, some money.
That's unbelievable. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, that's why on the new Cactus 5, we have a new singer named Jimmy Coons, who's a great singer. He's a really great singer, but he, he's there because of the fact that Rusty's gone.
Where'd you find Jimmy Coons?
We found him in New York. He used to sing with Savoy Brown at one point.
Oh, wow.
And he's a really great singer. If you go online, go to iTunes and look up some new stuff from Cactus 5. Yeah, unfortunately, that label still has the stuff up on iTunes, and, you know, people download them and stuff, and we don't get a dime from it, you know. And don't even know how to take it down. I tried calling iTunes half a dozen times. I think when we get the new Cactus music out, hopefully Fuel can get that off there, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they will at that point.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, it's interesting. You know?
Yeah. Now, do you ever get in contact with Rod Stewart, who you traveled with for a while?
Not much. Last time I saw him was in L.A. You know, Rod's a $500 million jet setter. You know what I mean? He travels around the world. He's in his own private jets and stuff. You know, it's a whole different ball game than what I do these days. You know.
Yeah.
What
about Paul Stanley?
We have been in contact with the original Rod Stewart group. All the guys that made all the hit records with Rod when I was with him.
Yeah.
And we have a manager named Tom Vitorino that's looking to put some gigs together. We have a new singer. Because, you know, we wrote all those songs back then, you know, Passion with Rod.
Right.
Do You Think I'm Sexy, Hot Legs, Young Turks, You're in My Heart, you know, just so many hits we had with him. And we never get to play them, you know. We never get to play the music we did. So we thought it might be interesting to go out and do a, you know, Rod Stewart group reunion without Rod, sort of like what the Faces are doing.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's
playing
it.
all the
Yeah.
hits. But unfortunately, we're running into the Faces when the manager and the agents are talking to promoters. They said, "Oh, well, the Faces are doing that too." So it's like bad timing on our part, you know.
Yeah. I didn't realize that you wrote that song too. You're in My Heart.
No, I didn't write that,
Oh,
but
okay.
the guitar player wrote it.
Oh, okay.
I have the three original guitar players, Phil Chen and me. That's the five of us.
Yeah.
We were the core of the band. Between all of us, we wrote all those songs.
Yeah.
You know, we wrote Passion and You're in My Heart and Do You Think I'm Sexy and Young Turks and I Was Only Joking, and, you know, it goes on and on and on. You
Yeah,
know,
that was
4 albums we did with him. We
That was a
co-wrote
huge-
all those songs.
Huge time of success for Rod Stewart.
Yeah, that was a huge time. Each of those albums did, you know, 8-9 million units worldwide, you know. The singles were all platinum and gold and everything else, and, you know, we were doing 6 nights at the Forum, you know, and everywhere we went in the world was 55,000 people. You know, that was a lot of people that saw this band, and the band was compared to the Rolling Stones and everything, so we thought it might be interesting, you know, to do some shows, even get some corporate stuff, you know.
Yeah.
We can go in and do a whole show of what we used to do in the 70s, you know, and with a new singer that replaced Paul Rodgers in Bad Company at one point. He's a really good singer, and he sounds, he's in the vein of Rod, but he's not imitating Rod.
Yeah.
So we're working on that for 210, and you know, I'm just having fun. I'm working on whatever musically comes along my way. You know, I have a drum show called Slam, which we've got a string of dates we're doing next year for Slam. There's going to be some Cactus shows. There's even talk about doing some big festivals with my group King Cobra from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
You know, with
Yeah.
all the original members except the singer. And I got Paul Shortino, who used to be in Rough Cut and who was in Quiet Riot. And he was also the guy that played in Spinal Tap. You've seen Spinal Tap,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Well, you know the guy that walks in where the Spinal Tap guys are sitting in the hotel lobby, and then this guy walks in with a big entourage of women and everything. He's the new pop star and the new big guy.
Yep.
Well, that's Paul Shortino.
Oh, wow.
He's a great singer. And so we've been talking about that and maybe doing a new album with King Cobra also. So next year should be an interesting musical year because, you know, it sort of reminds me of like when I grew up, I was listening to my idols with Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich. And I noticed that they would play with their own group, then they would play with this group, then they'd play with that group. They do albums, they do gigs. And it's sort of like, you know, you don't, it's like you don't have to stick with one thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm playing like more heavy metal with King Cobra, and then more rock with the Rod Stewart group, and then total drum music with Slam, you know, like Blue Man Group or Stomp, you know? playing trash cans, and we do like Do You Think I'm Sexy, and You Keep Me Hanging On with trash cans and drums, and 5 drummers and a guitar player, and it's an actual theatrical show, you know.
Yeah, well, it sounds like stuff that's going to keep you young and keep you going and keep your energy level up there.
So I'm, it's all like on my website, CarmineAappice.com. You can go to click on Slam. The King Cobra thing is new. It just started last week, and there was also talk about doing Blue Murder, but that's moving a lot slower.
Now, but CarmineAappice.net, it says on the promo. Is he sure?
Yeah, either one.
Okay.
I own,
You own them both? Okay.
I got everything. CarmineAappice.com, .net, .biz, .info, .org.
Smart idea. Because
I
otherwise
got 'em
someone will
all.
steal it from you.
You know, because at one point I didn't have .com. I had a web guy, and when the web first started, like in '96, when I knew nothing about it, but I had a web guy who was a fan,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he put together a website with CarmineAappice.com, and then I made him a deal as actually with the Guitar Zeus record. We were going to sell it online through a TV thing.
Yeah.
You know, and the TV agent who was putting it together sort of flaked out, you know, and never got it together. So that's why I had 1,000 CDs. So, you know, he was going to get paid from the TV sales. You know, he wanted X amount of dollars. So instead of doing the TV sales, I gave him X amount of dollars in CDs. I said, yeah, you can sell them on your website, on my website. You keep the money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he took the CDs, and then he decided that wasn't good enough, and he kidnapped my name, CarmineAappice.com. Okay, and I knew nothing about it at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, he was a Vanilla Fudge fan. Eventually, he gave it back to me about 5 years ago. And once he gave it back to me, I immediately registered it, and then I said, you know what? I had .net. Just like I used to have GuitarZeus.com also, and he stole that one, you know, and he sold it. So if you go on the internet now, you'll see GuitarZeus.com. That used to be my site, you know.
Well, we don't want to send anybody there. It's not your site anymore, so.
Yeah. So then I decided, well, you know, I don't really need all these Guitar Zeus things. I can just put them in from my website, you know.
Yeah. When you were touring, you were mentioning the huge crowds that were looking at Rod Stewart and stuff like that. I assume that some of the groups that you toured with, I know you were with Ozzy Osbourne for a while on that tour, King Cobra and all those guys. Were a lot of these guys bringing in some of the huge crowds too?
Bringing in what?
Big crowds in terms of
You mean
large
like Ozzy?
stadiums? Large stadiums?
Ozzy, when I was there with him?
Yeah.
Well, when I was with Ozzy, we played in Europe. It was, everywhere was sold out. When I played with him in L.A., I mean in the States, we had Motley Crue as our opening band, so they were just coming out. So it was a hot tour, you know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I got fired off that tour because Sharon said my name was too big, because I had people like J.J. Jackson on MTV saying, here's the Ozzy Osbourne tour featuring legendary drummer Carmine Aappice, you know, and they didn't like that, you know. And I didn't tell them to do that, you know. But that's, you know, that's just the way they did it, you know. And I had press in each market. I had my own PR person. I even had my own T-shirt deal on the tour. But she, you know, Sharon okayed that. You know? It was part of my deal. You know, and then at one point the heads were cut out of my shirts, and it's in the Motley Crue, the Dirt book was a bit about that, you know. But it, you know, so I got fired, and I had to sue them. I won, but that's not why I joined the band. I wanted to stay with the Ozzy band for a while, you know.
Yeah.
Because you know, what I actually did was I was assistant producer on the Bark at the Moon album. If you would have got some of the first 500 or 700,000 units, you'd see my name on there as an assistant producer. And you know, when she fired me, you know, I had to take that into account also, and it was kind of a drag because, you know, I wanted to, you know, help Ozzy, you know, write songs, produce great records, and do some great stage show stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she just like pulled the rug out from me, you know.
I guess you're not a big Sharon Osbourne fan.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, I mean, time, you know, I'm not holding a grudge or nothing, but, you know, it would have been nice just to stay there and you know, and help Ozzy do what he was doing, and, you know, and being the drummer like I did with Rod. I was with Rod for 7 years.
We're talking with Carmine Aappice, and
Aappice, that's it. You got it.
and Guitar Zeus is what we're talking about. Conquering Heroes. It's a 2 CD set, and I just realized by looking at I've been looking at this thing and listening to it, and the music is great. I didn't realize that you actually had a hand in writing every one of these songs on this.
Oh yeah, I mean, me and this guy Kelly Keeling, we used to say, we're like Lennon and McCartney. When we started playing with each other and writing, it was like magic.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have so many great ideas. He had a lot of great ideas. He was a visionary kind of guy, and I was the more logical guy that had experience with songwriting, and so I would take a lot of the what's the word, the fat off the songs.
Mm-hmm.
He would sometimes he would just have them. So there's so many parts and so many different things in it that it was too much. So I used to come in and I go, hey, what if we did this here? Let's cut that out. How about we add this part? And I would hum a riff or a melody,
Mm-hmm.
And then but it was really a great working relationship,
Yeah.
And we had so many songs, as you can see. There's 27 songs on that thing.
Right.
And we had a lot of ideas, and still, after that, we went on to do a King Cobra album together, and we wrote another 12 songs for the King Cobra album. So I probably wrote about 45 songs with this guy, and they were great.
Yeah,
and the thing that's really wild about the album is the fact that we recorded it in 96 and 97, I believe, 95 to 97, and it's still like it still sounds fresh.
It does sound fresh. I was just going to say that. It sounds like something
It's
brand
almost
new.
like we were ahead of our time.
I would say that you were.
Because what I was trying to do then was when those albums were conceived, the grunge thing was going on. It was before the pop thing was going on. It was all the grunge stuff. But the thing that I missed in the grunge was soloing.
Mm-hmm.
There was no like guitar solos anymore. They did a couple, but not like so. We used to do. So I was trying to mesh together what we used to do in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
what they were doing in the 90s, And by doing that, that's why we had these really good songs, and then in the middle of the songs, we had these cool solos, And then the solos were done by great guitar players. So it was a really nice concept.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people say to me on the release of this here in America, like this stuff sounds current. I mean, when did you do it? And I told them, I did it in like between 95 and 97. Everybody's blown away saying, God, it sounds like you did it like last year and then came out this year.
Well, that's why I thought that you had just put this thing together. I had no idea it was recorded in the 90s.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it was, they were recorded at a price of $110,000 a piece.
Really?
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Because we did everything analog. I paid Tony Franklin and Kelly Keeling very well. I paid, we had another engineer on the first album, paid him well. We mixed it at A&M Records in Hollywood, which wasn't cheap,
Mm-hmm.
The second album was mixed in Hollywood also, which wasn't cheap. And then, I had to fly around and get people on there, pay for studio time in different places, to actually pay people, the guitar players, pay them all, and then master it and all that stuff. So by the time we were done, it was like $110,000 a piece.
So did you end up losing money in the deal?
No, actually, I made money on the deal because, first of all, the first deal we got was both deals we got to fund it was out of Japan at the time.
Okay.
And the second one especially, I was in a group called Pearl in Japan, which was a domestic kind of group. It was me and Tony Franklin, the bass player on that,
Uh-huh.
and Japanese singer and a Japanese guitar player. And we were on Polydor, and we had released our first album, and it broke into Japanese charts at number 7. So we sold hundreds of thousands of records. So because of that, my manager at the time went to Polydor and put together a massive deal for the second Guitar Zeus album, because the first one did pretty well over there.
Mm-hmm.
So now he got a lot of money, and he sort of piggybacked it with the management of Pearl, together. As they were also a publisher, and so it's pretty wild. Now, the album right now, both of those albums are re-released in Japan with this new HD mastering.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did a new record deal in Japan, and we just did a new publishing deal in Japan.
Wow.
So it's still going. It's unbelievable how much, how much length that we got out of doing these two records. Also did a Guitar Zeus Japan, which features all guitar legends from Japan. I did a Guitar Zeus Korea also.
Carmine, you sound like a pretty smart guy. I assume you held on to all your publishing rights?
Most of it.
Yeah.
Most of it. I did screw up in '91 when I had my kids were young, and when that grunge thing came out, all those guys like me, the classic rock guys, were hurting.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't a lot of gigs, weren't a lot of record deals, so that's when we started doing stuff over in Japan and stuff. But before I did that, I sold some publishing side of my songs to a different companies just to generate some big income.
Mm.
I still own a lot of it, and all these ones, all the guitars, all my later albums after like '94, I own all the publishing to those. But with Sexy, I own most of it, but I gave some away. I had to sell some.
Yeah.
But tell you what, it still generates a lot of money.
Yeah. Sounds like you're having a good lifestyle. You're not Ozzy Osbourne, and you're not
No,
the
I'm
guy from
actually,
Kiss
you know
there,
what? The
Gene.
funny thing is, my girlfriend is a radio talk show host from New York, the radio chick. You know who that is?
Yeah, actually I do.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
my girlfriend. I've been with her 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So she's done great in her own way. So like she lives where I am now in an apartment she owns on 70th and Broadway, and she owns the apartment next door also, and she has a house in Connecticut. Now I live in a house in L.A. that me and her bought together. Okay, so she comes out there also. So I basically live in L.A. and New York. I go back and forth.
That
My
works out
kids
well.
live in L.A., but now they're becoming of age. My daughter's 20. She has her own life. My son is 18, going on 19. He has his own life. So I'm actually going to move back to New York and just keep a place in L.A.
Now, are the kids, either of the kids musically inclined?
Well, my daughter is. She's more creative, my son. My daughter is like a singer. She played guitar, bass, and she sang at one time when she was 12 years old, like Christina Aguilera. Okay, I did a demo with her, and it was awesome. But then she got into punk music, and that was the end of that. And punk music was like, terrible vocals, and so that was done. But she's now a makeup artist. She does special effects makeup, and she's trying to break into movies with that, and she does different makeup things,
Uh-huh.
So she's into that. My son is sort of just, he was into basketball, and he might end up just going to college for business, he don't know what he wants to be. But I've been getting into some real estate ventures lately, and if they work out, I'm going to show him how to do it. Maybe that'll be his his calling could be.
There you go.
But
Sounds
the
like
thing is, they have their own lives, and I used to go home and work out, my schedule so I can go home and see them on the weekends and stuff. And now it's like, you got, I'm going to be with my friends.
I understand. I got two teenagers.
Well,
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. So I said, well, I'm going to move in a year and a half to New York so I can enjoy my senior statesman in the rock and roll business,
Mm-hmm.
And like I do a lot of education stuff too. I just came back from a clinic tour in Germany. I've been contracted to teach 5 days, 4 times a year in the Conservatory of Music in Palermo, Italy.
Mm.
Which in Sicily, which is going to be interesting because I'm Italian. I love Italy, and I'm the director of education for D Drums, the drum company I'm with, and I have an instructional book that's sold like 400,000 units over the 30-year period, and we're just translating that into different languages now. And I'm working on my autobiography called The International Rock Guide to Hotel Liking. I'm just signing on with a new manager now for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and once we, like in the next couple of weeks, we're going to figure out which way to go with that book because we started presenting it last year when the crunch happened around this time last year to some book companies, and nobody bit because the economy was so bad. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So
It sounds like
eventually-
another interview will come up when the book comes out. We actually
oh yeah,
we've
the book
run out
is
of
gonna
time
be
here.
awesome because my career has touched on so many different people from the days in the '60s of Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison and the Doors and then Led Zeppelin opening up for us, and then the whole Jeff Beck connection and then Rod Stewart stuff, and through Rod meeting people like Gregory Peck, giving one of my drum books to Fred Astaire. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy stuff, and then continuing in the career and just all the stuff that went on in those days, and hanging out with Kiss and playing on Paul Stanley's album and getting signed with Coin Management, Kiss's management, and just hanging out with Buddy Rich. Just so much stuff. There's so much stuff that I was responsible for that became hits. Like People Get Ready with Rod and Jeff. That was me and my buddy Dwayne Hitchings really put that together.
Mm-hmm.
But we got no credit for it.
Well, that's,
So there's so many things like that. And when Buddy Rich played on the Muppet Show, that was actually my idea. But I wanted it to be me, not Buddy Rich. And when they called up, they said, well, they told my manager, we got good news and bad news. Good news, we're going to use your idea. Bad news, you're going to use Buddy Rich. Well, it's my idea to do that. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And just, I talk about the orgies, the Mud Shark incident with Led Zeppelin. You've probably heard about that.
I would love to hear about all these things even more in depth, but we have no more time left.
Right, I know. Well, I'm not going to do more of that because I'm going to save it for the book.
Well, and I want to hear it, and we'll discuss it when the book comes out.
Okay.
But I want to send everybody over to Carmine's site. It's CarmineAppice.com.
No, C-A-R-M-I-N-E. Carmine. Did you say E?
No.
Yeah, C-A-R-M-I-N-E.
Oh wow! See that
It's not Carmen, it's Carmine.
Yeah, I know, but your publicist has it wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, Surge Entertainment has it wrong on the thing here, so I was just reading what they wrote.
It's probably just a typo.
Yeah, so it's Carmine Aappice, APPICE.com.
.com, right.
And I know your name, but
Yeah.
I'm just reading what they wrote here,
Well, okay.
which is stupid for me to do. I should just read what I know rather than what someone else wrote.
Right.
But anyway, it was a pleasure as always to talk to you, and I look forward to the next time.
Okay, now actually, what is this for?
This is for PMPNetwork.com.
Okay. Just making sure because everything is
The Internet's entertainment superstation.
internet or radio, and half the time I don't know what I'm talking to anymore.
Okay.
Regular magazine, internet magazine. Okay, man.
Okay.
I'll talk to you
Take
soon.
care. Bye-bye.
Ciao.